Eddie Hearn in association.
And Radio Raheem in association with Adam Smith, the voice of Sky Sports Boxing.
How you doing?
I'm fantastic.
It's always good to see you over here.
It's always good to be over here.
It's good to see you over here.
And I must say
You're over
that
here more now than you used to be, which is a good sign.
Well, you know we've got a little trouble on my side of the pond, so I don't mind leaving as much as I used to.
Listen, the UK is where it's happening now in the fight game, which is great.
And to that end, Sky Sports is where it's happening in the UK. So having essentially a monopoly on what is the best of the fights, how do you measure having fights here? For instance, if we were to get a Joshua Wilder, which is a huge debate as to, should it be in London, should it be in Vegas, America, UK? For your sake, for Sky Sports thinking, how does it shake out?
I mean, first of all, yes, we have got a great run on Sky. There's also other competition at the moment, you know, on Channel 5, on BT, on ITV with the Super Series, which I think is all great for the sport. But yeah, we've been in it. I've been at Sky nearly 24 years, and we haven't taken a rest from boxing all the way through. You know, the great times with Frank Bruno and Lennox Lewis and Ricky Hatton, Joe Calzaghe, Carl Froch, David Haye, so many, Prince Nassim, of course, so many great names over the years that we've followed. I think this is a halcyon period. This is certainly after London 2012, where Anthony Joshua came through, and Nicola Adams and Luke Campbell and all the others. I think that there was a big renaissance, and I think obviously Mayweather Pacquiao was made over there. Froch Groves here with 80,000, and that was sort of set the ball rolling for what happened with AJ and Klitschko as well in April. So, you know, the sport is in a fantastic place, and it's in a great place here, and of course a great place on Sky. Where would I want the AJ Wilder fight to happen? Well, look, 10 o'clock, 10:30 on Sky Sports box office over here is obviously very favourable to our audience. You know, people have a night out on Saturday, they tune in, that's a great time. If you've got a fight at 3, 4 in the morning, it's obviously harder, but Ricky Hatton proved, and Floyd Mayweather's proved, it's certainly not impossible. We did great numbers for Ricky Hatton when he went over to fight Floyd. We did phenomenal numbers for Mayweather McGregor in the middle of the night, obviously this UK time last August. So, you know, if it's a big enough fight, fans will travel and fans will stay up and watch it. And I think AJ Wilder works in Vegas. I think it works in London. I'd like to do it 2 or 3 times, so why don't we do that?
You know, the people that follow the sport closely often don't understand where the networks come into play against the promoters sometimes, and then play off of the fighter's stardom itself. So if we could talk a little bit about the business of being in the network, seeing that you're in this position in the UK with Sky Sports, do the numbers pay-per-view wise, are they most important, or is it the number of people that you pack in the arena on the day? Like, I see, at least from my personal experience, guys show up for fights here earlier, they sell out faster, you seem to have an easier time in the arena, but on the other side of the pond, my home, the pay-per-view costs more, and they seem to sell more pay-per-views and make more money at the pay-per-view that way. What are your thoughts on this kind of dynamic?
I think the most important thing is that the customers get value for money. Okay, so for our importance is our Sky customers. So we went through a period a few years ago where there was a lot of pay-per-view events, too many in my opinion. Pay-per-view box office event has to be a great event, a stand-up event, a high-end event, so to speak, and something like what we've got next Saturday with AJ and Parker, and a terrific card. You know, another little heavyweight story with Povetkin and Price. You've got Ryan Burnett and Anthony Crolla, and then, you know, Joe Cordina, Joshua Buatsi, Josh Kelly, so many. That's a great night. And I think it's a great night for fans that go, and I think it's a great night for fans that watch at home. So that's the important thing. I think, certainly from my point of view, and I've worked with all the promoters and the great promoters, from Frank Warren to Ricky Hatton to Frank Maloney to, you know, so many of them, McKennesy. I've worked with a lot of promoters in conjunction with Sky. The difference with Matchroom, I think, is that Matchroom have, a little bit like we've been loyal to boxing, Matchroom have been loyal to us and us to Matchroom. You know, we do the darts with them, we do the fishing with them, we do the pool, we do the boxing, and it's a great relationship. And I think Barry Hearn's always had that with Sky, and I think since Eddie's come along, who's had the vibrancy and the passion for boxing, and he's personally gone out and you know, he's sold events, and the crowds are coming, and of course you've got to have the fighters, the AJs and everyone that surrounds him as well. But I think Eddie and I like to think we're a team, we're a partnership. Yes, Matchroom, of course, have their business agenda, and Sky have our business agenda, but I think that we like to see ourselves as a partnership. I speak to Eddie more times every day than I do my wife. He is constantly on the phone. We work and we argue and we debate, but ultimately we want the same thing. We want the arenas packed. We want absolutely terrific events. We want the passion and the fun and the liveliness of the event to just go through the TV sets so that everybody feels that they're experiencing the same thing. So I think it works in tandem.
I'll try to shorten this up so you can call your wife before this goes live around the world. The interesting aspect.
It's a massively important part of my life, right? It's not just Eddie, I promise you, but it just feels sometimes like I'm texting Eddie a little bit more, but you know.
I fully understand. When it comes to grooming fighters for television, the reason I get into this is because the business of boxing has become pretty interesting to the fans in boxing, being that they're the ones that oftentimes shelling out their money. And networks will say things like, okay, this fighter wins, like a Rigondeaux in his prime or whatnot, but we don't want to show him because he's not exciting. When you have a situation like you have, where granted there are other networks, but you have a lion's share of the audience and are able to develop fighters, what's most important to you when you decide, you know what, this guy's ready for television, or this guy may be winning, but we don't want him on television?
That's an interesting question. I think, it's very difficult to have everything in boxing. AJ seems to have it all, doesn't he? He's a heavyweight, which is massively important for the casual fans. He's got power, he's athletic, he's good looking, he's charming, he appeals to everybody, so he ticks a lot of the boxes. Most fighters don't have all of that. Some are the lighter weights, some don't punch that hard, but some are great talkers, some are, have great background stories. I think you look at a bit of everything, and also fighters that just spark you. And Eddie will have his sort of team, his stable, and he'll think, right, it's probably best to put them on that sort of show and these on the other sort of show, and we'll have ours, and we'll think, no, we want somebody that obviously is exciting to watch. But if someone has a bad night or an off performance, it doesn't mean you suddenly say, oh, we don't want to see them anymore. It's a story, it's a journey with fighters. So I think that you've got to work with what's good. Some guys look brilliant. Lomachenko's obviously a wonderful sort of talent, and you're a beautiful fighter to watch, etc. You mentioned Rigondeaux, and but you can understand sometimes the frustration if they're not maybe the bigger names or the big heavyweights, and they're not getting the knockouts. The casual fans might not be as interested as the hardcore trade fans. So you try and balance it up and give something for everyone. So what we try and do is we get the big names, the big stars out, and Amir Khan, Kell Brook leading Sky Sports shows. You get good matches at times like Dillian White and Lucas Brown on Saturday night. You try and give as many 50-50 or 55-45 high-end matches that you can. But also you look at the prospects you're bringing through, and some that are going to box their way to great performances, great trade performances. Some that are going to go out there and have a fire fest. It's about balancing. But ultimately you are looking for who are the next sort of box office stars who can support Joshua, who or the fights that are going to make them, like Hay and Bellew, like I want to get Khan and Brook together finally. We all do. But so you're looking at sort of the whole package. So I don't think there's one rule for one and one rule for another. And the other thing that obviously I'm passionate about is the women's ascendancy, the boxing that's really it's really hit the map because of Katie Taylor. She's fantastic. She's unbelievable. We're just with her in Connecticut the other week. Her training, her ambition since she was an 11-year-old kid. I love that. Nicola Adams and Natasha Jonas and Savannah Marshall, our own Sky Scholar, who's starting out. Clarissa Shields over there, Chantel Cameron. I love the fact that the women are getting a stage as well. So I think boxing's just in a great place, and I think there's something for everybody. We like to bring some international good fights in. I'd love to do Linares Lomachenko, for example. We're doing Adrian Broner coming up. We're doing the Badu Jack Adonis Stevenson fights. But even though they're the middle of the night, we'll get good repeats on. We'll get good on-demand audiences for those. It's important to show worldwide great matches, as well as is our prospects coming through. But I think as long as we give a balance to our Sky customers, then hopefully we're doing the right thing.
And lastly, I opened the interview saying that you're the voice of boxing in the UK, and that's not just puff, that's genuinely earned. So your ringside role, beyond the business of Sky Sports, what you do as a performer, I wonder where the line comes between entertainer and reporting on what's happening in the fight. For instance, people preferences as far as channels and networks go often come and go with the broadcasters, the way the production is presented and the value of the production itself. So from that perspective, what's most important to you, and what should the fan be expecting when they tune into a fight, regardless of what network it's on?
I'm the head of boxing at Sky, so first and foremost, I want to make sure that boxing is the best it can be for the viewers. I have a wonderful team who are terrific and passionate and work every day to try and make that the best delivery on all our multi-platforms. As far as the commentary role goes, I dreamt as a kid. I don't know what your ambitions were when you were 9 or 10, but mine were to be a commentator. And I used to turn the TV down and record on my dictaphone when my voice hadn't broken. All sorts of commentaries on all sorts of sports, and that's what I wanted to do. That was my dream. So if you're asking me what the favourite part of my job still, it is to be sitting 6 feet from a ring and calling the action. Utterly impartial. When I call the AJ Parker fight next week, if Anthony Joshua wins, he wins. If Joseph Parker wins, he wins. You have to be like that commentating. You have to be prepared, and you have to look at the action, and you have to describe it in the way you think. Anthony Joshua, of course, has got the hopes of a nation with him. Sky Business love Anthony Joshua, of course. If Anthony Joshua loses, he loses, and Joseph Parker becomes a story, and the story changes, and Anthony Joshua comes back. That's how you have to see it. When you pick up that mic, it is total impartiality. Yes, you want to try and entertain. Of course, it is an entertaining business, but you've got to call the fight as you see it. That's why we've got experts with us like Carl Froch, Johnny Nelson, Matt Macklin, fighters that have been in there at all different levels who can see how fights are unfolding in a different way to the way I do. I describe the action, hopefully it's entertaining, but hopefully the most important thing is it's honest, it's true, and it's impartial, and it's as the fight is undeveloping and as the stories are changing. You can't have it any other way.
I would wholeheartedly agree, and I've seen you display those exact principles on your broadcast, so it's always an honor to come over and sit ringside for your shows and to watch on Sky Sports when I'm at home, because the broadcast is that kind of quality. So I'll allow you now to go call your wife. I'm going to go call my mom because I don't get to talk to her. I talk to you maybe as much as I talk to her. So we both got calls to make. You're living the dream that you had as a child, and so am I. Radio Raheem with Adam Smith here at Sky Sports. Looking forward to Dillian Whyte and Lucas Browne this Saturday at the O2 Arena. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.